It's an absolute nonsense to suggest that anything that the government of Gibraltar, led by me, with Jose Garcia in it, and with Joe Bossano in the cabinet, could lead to any diminution of British sovereignty. It's particularly wrong, in my view, for the European Scrutiny Committee to pretend to be surprised by these arrangements. I've already given specific evidence to the committee about the nature of the way that those immigration arrangements would be handled. In fact, I've addressed the whole of Gibraltar on them at the time of the New Year's Eve agreement. So there is nothing new here. I think what you're seeing here, Brexiteers who are seeking to destabilize this process simply because it doesn't accord to their Brexit way of seeing things, wanting to create undercurrents and turbulence for these negotiations. Absolutely no issue for the people of Gibraltar to be concerned about in the context of sovereignty or diminution of Gibraltar's British sovereignty. Let me be very clear with your viewers, as clear as I will be with the European Scrutiny Committee if they have the courtesy to reply to that letter, which is still extant, that I wrote to them some weeks ago, and to the letter that I've written to them now. Over my dead body will there be any diminution of British sovereignty over Gibraltar in relation to these arrangements that are being negotiated in the context of immigration or the movement of goods. Yes, of course, there will be new practical arrangements, but none will have any effect of diminution of British sovereignty or any other negative effect on British sovereignty.
So would those practical arrangements see the people of Gibraltar need to go through Schengen checks when arriving at the Gibraltar airport, and could those checks deny them entry?
I have already made very clear in the evidence I have given that residents of Gibraltar will have the right to enter Gibraltar. It will not be possible to prevent them from entering Gibraltar. I've been explicit about that. I'm surprised that people need me to reconfirm aspects of this which have already been put into the public domain. A lot has not been put into the public domain, but much has, and this has.
And then the problem for the European Scrutiny Committee that non-resident British people, British visitors to Gibraltar, would have to go through those Schengen checks, and they could be denied entry potentially.
The vast majority of British visitors to Gibraltar who are not residents of Gibraltar use Gibraltar Airport as a stepping stone into Spain. The vast majority, we're talking upwards of 80% of people. So they're coming to Gibraltar simply to go into Spain. They're doing those Schengen checks now at Gibraltar's a frontier with Spain in order to be able to access Spain. If they access Spain through Malaga, they also have to carry out Schengen checks. If they come into Gibraltar under the new arrangements, they will not just have the right to be in Gibraltar, they will also have the right to be in the rest of the European Union. I am not elected by British individuals who are not resident in Gibraltar. I am elected by British residents of Gibraltar. That is the role that I must discharge, therefore, the representation of those people. And these arrangements will be better for the economic and social well-being of British and other nationalities residents in Gibraltar. That's the job I've been sent to do after the 13th of October for the fourth successive time, and that's the job I'm doing.
In respect of the physical frontier, the border would remain, but the border controls would go?
Well, I think we've been very clear about that also. When we made announcements on the 31st of December 2020, we talked about the removal of the frontier fence, and I've been interviewed on a number of occasions by GBC already on that basis.
So, but just to clarify then, the border controls go, but the border fence remains, or the border fence also goes?
No, I've been explicit about this in the announcements that have been made already on the 31st of December 2020, and thereafter in interviews with GBC there will be a removal of controls and frontier infrastructure. That is what you have when you have a common travel area with Schengen. It's what you've seen in all other territories. It is what you can negotiate if you are going to have a common travel area with Schengen. I mean, it is not possible for the European Scrutiny Committee or anybody in Gibraltar to set up non-negotiable objectives and send the government off to do that. So what you can't do is have the ability to enter Schengen fluidly but put barriers to people from Schengen entering your territory. That would be a unilateral deal, the sort of which is just simply impossible to persuade anyone to negotiate. And I want to make this point very clearly to you, to your viewers, and to the European Scrutiny Committee. Gibraltar is not the world's only superpower. The government of Gibraltar has not gone to Brussels to negotiate the terms of the European Union's surrender to our criteria of what this agreement should provide for. Gibraltar is in a very difficult position as a result of Brexit, which requires us to find an arrangement that enables us to have the fluidity of people at the frontier and of goods at the frontier that we need for our economic well-being and for the current economic model to remain viable. That is the reality of what those who advocated for leave in 2016 have visited upon the good people of Gibraltar. And they shouldn't now pretend to set up an unnegotiable hurdle that the government of Gibraltar and the government of the United Kingdom, working hand in glove together, should be expected to achieve.
Are you concerned at all that the predominantly Brexit-supporting European Scrutiny Committee might create some problems for the Gibraltar Treaty on the UK side?
I don't see that they can, because I think that what they have to respect is the will of the people of Gibraltar. 96.6% of the people of Gibraltar voted to remain in the European Union because the Gibraltarians are astute and could see all of these issues coming down the road. Those in the United Kingdom who voted to leave, in my view, did not care one jot about the well-being of the people of Gibraltar, their economic opportunities, and the generational consequences that Brexit was going to visit on our people and on our children. So I would ask them to be very careful to now try to create problems or more problems for the people of Gibraltar in addition to those that they've created already, whilst pretending to pay lip service to caring about our rock, our British sovereignty and our people.
And finally, Chief Minister, do you agree with elements within the European Scrutiny Committee that the Northern Ireland arrangement shows that sovereignty is a flexible concept?
Let's be very clear, the Northern Ireland Protocol is completely different to the Gibraltar Protocol. There may be some principles which are in common between the TCA, the Northern Irish Protocol, matters relating to the sovereign base areas in Cyprus, and indeed other arrangements that the European Union has done with microstates, but the Gibraltar arrangements are bespoke, they are different, and they must be seen in that different context.